Fight Club is a 1999 movie that was based off of the 1996 novel. It was directed by David Fincher, who actually directed Alien 3, and it has the cast of Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, Helena Bonham Carter, Meatloaf Day, and Jared Leto. I have with me today Erin to talk and help talk with us about this movie. Basically, to give a quick synopsis of the movie, Edward Norton's character, they don't really give him a name.
He's just the narrator.
Yeah, he's just the narrator. He's an insomniac workaholic, like office workaholic, who's just kind of tired of it all. And he runs into this guy named Tyler Durden, who's played by Brad Pitt. And eventually they start a fight club, which then turns into pretty much an anarchy. So what did you think of it?
I think it's really good. Personally, I have never read the book. I've always wanted to, but I heard that that's just as amazing as the movie. I think cinematically, it's amazing. The cinematography and the lighting are both just so well done because it gives you the tone of the movie right away, and without giving anything away, it definitely points to a lot of the major themes of the movie, which I think is really cool.
I agree with that. To me personally, I really did enjoy the movie too. I thought it was a funny movie. It was very fun. It pulled me in.
Yeah.
But personally, to me, I felt it took a while to pull me in. Because like at the very beginning, you just see him going to these different clubs and there's not really much that happens. Like the first scene kind of gets your attention. I'm not going to go into it, but the first scene definitely gets your attention. But after that, it just kind of takes a while to work to where it needs to go. I get that's kind of to introduce the characters and give an idea of like who they are. But I felt that the story didn't seem very clear until almost halfway through the movie. I enjoyed the story itself. I actually enjoyed it, but I wish that they would have gotten to the story much quicker into it. Because it was like the movie's 2 hours and 19 minutes, give or take, with the end credits. So the fact that they actually didn't reveal much of exactly what the story is until roughly 50 minutes in, it just felt like that could have been pushed back a bit more and kind of help explain the story a bit more earlier.
I can definitely say that the first time I watched it, I felt that, but the more times that I watch it, because I've seen it very many times, I always kind of look at it as like the beginning part before he meets Tyler is kind of slow because his life is slow and boring and monotonous, but then he meets Tyler and things just kind of take off. And right. I think that's kind of like interesting because it gives you like an idea of like him as a character.
Speaking of characters, the acting and the characters in general, the way that they were made is phenomenal. I enjoyed them very much. I enjoyed how each of them were different, but they all seemed to work well. The acting, I felt that the actors that they chose for these parts was like the perfect fit.
Yeah.
I will say the way they made Jared Leto's character was a bit odd. Like just the look of him, it wasn't normal. But then again, he played Joker in Suicide Squad, so
yeah,
not really anywhere in the line of normal. I really enjoyed like the character arcs, the way that the narrator's character just like totally increased. Yeah, complete 180. Like you see him pretty much rock bottom. He has everything, but he doesn't feel like he has everything. And then like at the end of the movie, it's complete opposite. Like at this point, he really is at rock bottom. He's got like nothing, but he feels like, you know, he's on top of the world. And that's like the best way to do a character arc where you lose everything, but you still feel like you have everything.
Yeah.
And a lot of movies I've noticed nowadays don't seem to do that kind of a character arc. Yeah. Like they'll make it so the character doesn't have anything, but then they
find what they're looking for.
Yeah, but then they end up finding it, and then they have everything again, while happiness. So there's not really that whole character arc like there was in this movie.
Yeah.
And I wish a lot more movies did that. I thought it was hilarious that there were some fourth wall breaks.
Yeah.
There were quite a few of them. There's one where the narrator is literally talking to you. So there's Edward Norton and Brad Pitt. They're both talking to you. And then there's another scene where it looks like it's in a movie reel where Brad Pitt is talking to you and it's like distorted and all that. And I thought that was a really cool scene as well.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite scenes?
I liked when, I think some of my favorite parts were after things started to go really crazy. after they set up the Fight Club and they started giving out like assignments to people.
Yeah.
There was just a really awesome sequence of events after that, and I think my favorite scene is when they all start like chanting that guy's name.
His name is Robert Paulson.
His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson.
Come on, guys,
His
please,
name
stop it.
is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson.
This is over with!
His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson. His name is Robert Paulson.
That one, and when they're driving in the car when it's raining.
Oh, that was a great scene.
Those were both so good.
Yeah, it seemed like with those certain scenes, even when you're just sitting watching it, you feel like you're a part of it. And I really enjoyed that as well about this movie is just you aren't actually there, but the way that the characters are and how real they are with their dialogue and the way they act, it just seems like you are actually there. And that was really well, like, a good job for the movie itself. The music in it, I felt fit. It fit the style. It fit the location. The production design, I love the lighting. I love the location that they chose. I love everything about the movie itself.
Yeah.
Minus, the few minor flaws. One of them, I think the ending was probably the biggest flaw for me because I'm not going to spoil it, but the ending doesn't really seem to satisfy what I was expecting. There was more to the ending that I was expecting and wishing would have happened, but it didn't, and it took a whole different route. And I felt that probably could have changed. They could have done a different way. Like, they could have had a different way to go about the ending instead of the way they did.
Personally, I feel like it kind of fits the style and the tone of the movie, because it's like the movie is full of things that just totally throw you through a loop. Throw you for a loop?
Through a loop, for a loop.
I know it. I looked this up.
In a loop?
No, I think it's throw you for a loop.
Anyways.
They really get you, and I think that the ending is just another one of those. And I think that comes a lot with watching the movie over and over and over, and like starting to pick up things that you didn't really pick up just the first time you watched it. Because I remember the first time that I watched it. First of all, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, I thought this was a movie about a fight club, and then like so many things started happening. And then I got to the ending, and was just like, I need a minute.
Yeah, that was another thing about this movie was it starts off, them forming a fight club, but then that fight club gets expanded to several different areas of the U.S. in general, and then not to mention that Fight Club doesn't really exist anymore. Like the Fight Club starts off in the small places, and that's what happens. They start off as just fight clubs. Then they kind of expand to the anarchy world. Think of it as like Anonymous almost, only not hacky.
I thought it was really cool. I know that definitely I was excited to watch it again, but Fight Club is not one of those movies that you just kind of pick up and watch. It's one of those ones that you prepare for, and when you watch it, that's kind of how I always looked at it. Yeah,
that was not me. I didn't really prepare too much for it. I just kind of put it in and watched it, and there was a lot of stuff I was not expecting in that movie, especially Helena Carter's character. She was a trip.
Marla, the big tourist. Her lie reflected my lie. Suddenly, I felt nothing.
She reminded me of quite a few of her roles in a bunch of Tim Burton movies, and because of like the way she acted and the times you saw her, I kept second guessing myself as to like, is this a Tim Burton movie or is this not?
I loved her character a lot, and I think what I liked about her is that, and what I liked about the movie too is that they just show like this totally separate side of life. Whereas most movies stay with the safe, like, everyone's happy, and even if someone's sad, they find something happy. And in this movie, they show the very real flaws of people, and they're not afraid of it. Yeah. And, like, every character in this movie is really flawed, and very, like, almost, like, grungy.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, this movie seems very realistic. The dialogue, the way they act, everything seems like it could be very real world compared to what most movies do nowadays, where it just seems kind of like fantasy world or a world that looks real, but you know it's not.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. And Fight Club definitely said otherwise. It showed that like everything, like those kind of things are happening today, and especially back then when this movie was made in 1999. So it was a good way to kind of give a twist to what normally Hollywood gives out and what the audience in general wants. It didn't make as much back as expected. The budget was $63 million, and it only made back from the box office at least $100.9 million.
I believe it though.
Yeah.
Because and I don't want to be one of those people that's like, oh, great movies don't do well. But I could see it being one of those movies that people would go to the theater to see because they were excited about it. Brad Pitt was in it. And then they were just like, what was that? And then we're like, don't go see it. It was bad.
Yeah.
You know? Like
a lot of it, I think, was just the fact that Brad Pitt was in the movie, so it has to be good. And Edward Norton, yeah. So that was probably the big hype about it at first, was it was like, oh, Edward Norton and Brad Pitt are in this movie. It's got to be good. And then after seeing it, they were telling their friends, like, oh, this is kind of a decent movie. Oh, this is a bad movie. But it's one of those movies where it's like, it seems like it wasn't as good at first when it first came out, but then, you know, coming to it almost 20 years later and watching it, it's a different look, a different view of it, and it just...
maybe people didn't tell their friends about it, because the first and second rule of Fight Club are you don't talk about Fight Club.
Me personally, I gave this movie a 4.5 out of 5 stars, because while it was a good movie, the story wasn't exactly clear at the very beginning. That could have been changed, and the ending I felt was good, but it could have been better, if that makes sense.
I agree with your rating. I still like the ending, but I do think that there are some things in the movie that could be a little bit better, without spoiling anything really. And I do think, while I love the writing in it, I do think sometimes some things are just for shock value and don't necessarily make sense. But I still really thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's one of those movies that I would recommend to somebody that wants to watch just a good movie, and to get something that they weren't expecting. And also I think it gets people to branch out into something that they wouldn't normally watch.
Right. So, as a whole, this movie is being rated 4.5 out of 5.
Yep. Thank
you guys for coming to this video and watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're also on Facebook or on Twitter, so go like us, follow us on there as well. This is Pop Culture Critics, signing off.